So at this time, it was quite usual for the largest consulting assignments to be $1 million a year or something like that. And Bruce said, no, there's no reason why it shouldn't be 10 million. There's no reason why it shouldn't be 100 million in a particular client. And, I remember talking about this with a McKinsey partner at one time, and he said, I don't know what you guys at Bain Company do, but, how we were working for a small duplicating company in Tottenham at the time called Gestetner. And he said, it is rumoured that you are making several £1 million a year in consulting fees from this very unsuccessful small company called Gestetner. And, I wasn't going to say yes, but I sort of did some sort of movement like that, sort of saying, well, I'm not going to say yes, but you might be right. And he said, we would never presume to actually do that. How do you guys do that? And I didn't tell him the answer. But the answer was, if you were investing $1 million, say, in a consulting assignment, and that was leading you to strategic conclusions, which were very important, which would mean that you could make another $10 million profit out of that particular business. So you spend $1 million, you get $10 million back. Why wouldn't you want to spend $10 million the next year? Maybe you get $100 million back. That was kind of like the argument which Bill would get his partners, because he never did any direct selling himself after the first year or so. The script was perfect, and the script was wonderful because it was right. There are leverage points in every business, and at that time Bain Company knew what the leverage points were, and BCG did as well, but they didn't really focus so much on what was going to work commercially. They focused more on what was the perfect strategy, which was a completely different mindset. But Bill looked at it the same way an entrepreneur would look at it. He looked at his business the same way that an entrepreneur would look at their business, and he would say, what is it that we're selling? Where is it most valuable, and how can we structure it in such a way that we can make the most profit out of that? And the way he did it was, before Bain would work with a client, they would play hard to get. This is a firm that initially was desperate for business, but they would play hard to get, and they'd say, we will not start to work for you unless you agree to this psychological contract. It wasn't written down, but it was saying to him. So if later on, the partner would propose some more work. You finish an assignment, the next slide, not even in PowerPoint in those days, it was, you had an overhead projector and they made them up with Letraset and so on. The next slide would be next steps. And next steps was basically the commercial for the next Bain Company study. And the next Bain Company study would be like 2 or 3 times bigger than the last study. And they would try and get agreement there and then. And if a guy sort of balked and said, well, I'd better go and consult with my head of strategy, very politely, but nevertheless very firmly, the guy would probably take the chief executive aside and say, you remember that conversation we had about not imposing an arbitrary limit? Well, we don't want you to impose an arbitrary limit. You've got a great return on this. I can guarantee that if you do this study, your business will make far more money than the cost of the consulting. So then the chief executive would go back and say, I think we should do this. And it was just a wonderful formula. And as long as you performed for the clients, which Bain Company did and still does, then it was a fantastic expansion formula, and that then meant that the business could grow fast, and that meant that all of the positive dynamics and the virtuous circle, which we were talking about higher growth businesses, could then carry on. And it was a time of my life, and it was just a fabulous thing to do.